June 17th, 2010, Louisville, Kentucky. What begins as a seemingly routine domestic dispute quickly spirals into something far more sinister. In Old Louisville, a man calls 911 from inside the Victorian home he shares with his boyfriend, saying the other man is trying to smash through a bedroom door with a hammer. It's clear it's no ordinary domestic disturbance, because before the night ends, the man on the other side of that door will tell police there's a body buried in the basement. This is a story of murder, drugs, sex, a drag queen, counterfeit money, and two lovers who will turn on each other like relatives at a will reading. A case of he said, or he said he slayed. This is the murder of Jamie Carroll, buried under 4th Street, Part 1. Hey y'all, I'm Kris Calvert.
And I'm her husband, Rob Podorf. Welcome to Hitched to Homicide.
For better or worse.
Till death do us part.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yes, welcome. And for all of our friends over there in Denmark.
Okay.
Velkommen.
I love it. Sounds very German, too.
A little bit.
Well, wherever you're listening, be sure to subscribe to Hitched to Homicide. Then like, rate, and review the podcast so others who love true crime and are just like you can find us. I'm going to get through it as fast as I can today. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button below.
Yep.
If you want true crime with us every single day of the week, please go join our closed Facebook group, the In-Laws and Outlaws. Go to Facebook, type in H2H In-Laws and Outlaws. I'm going too fast now. Answer a couple questions and you're in.
Or Bookface.
Or Bookface, yeah. So go join.
All
I
right.
post photos and other information in there as well. It's a great group of true crime people. We love them a bunch.
Yep.
You can find us on Instagram at Hitched to Homicide or on X at H2H_podcast. We also have a Buy Me a Coffee link if you want to send Rob some coffee.
I just got some Pete's coffee. And Pete's coffee is really good. It's P-E-E.
This is not a paid endorsement.
I'm hoping they'll send me some.
You can find that link in our show notes. Thank you, Pete's Coffee, which you love so much.
Yummy.
You can also send us a message. The link to that is now at the bottom of the show notes. It used to be at the top. Now it's at the bottom.
Yep.
It is almost May in Kentucky. I'm wearing my horse sweater today.
Horses.
And that means one thing. That's pretty good, honey. The first Saturday in May is always the Kentucky Derby.
And that was the site of our first real date.
It was. I asked Rob to be my date to the Derby.
Yeah.
This year, it's the 152nd running of the Derby. Now, because it's still a week and a half away from today, right now there are 28 horses on the horse leaderboard for the Derby. 20 horses will actually run the 1.25 miles on the first Saturday in May in the first leg of the Triple Crown. And right now, there are 3 gray horses on the leaderboard, and I always pick a gray horse, and there is very rarely a gray horse in the Derby. But I'm very excited. Maybe one of them's going to make the cut.
Horses.
But since it's Derby time, and this case has gotten some national attention with an HBO special, I wanted to cover it, and there's so much of it, I had to break it into 2 parts.
All right.
Before we get started, let me thank some sources, and there are a lot of them, and I'm only going to give you a few. Mundt versus the Commonwealth, WDRB in Louisville, A&E, USA Today, People Magazine, Biography.com, ABC7 in Chicago, Oxygen's Snapped, the Louisville Courier-Journal, and Murder in Glitterball City on HBO. There's also a book that the HBO special is based on called A Dark Room in Glitterball City by David Domine. I will have a link to his book in the show notes, along with all the other sources.
WDRB. I don't know. It just popped in my mind. So, anyway, you ready?
I am.
Please do it.
Louisville, Kentucky is a very old river city. It's founded in 1778 by George Rogers Clark and is named after King Louis XVI of France for his assistance during the American Revolutionary War.
Huh.
It's a city that was shaped by trade. It sits right on the Ohio River. And in 1811, the first steamboat arrived in Louisville along the Ohio, the New Orleans. And during the Civil War, Louisville and Kentucky were neutral, but the river city of Louisville served as a major Union supply base.
I did not know that.
And again, there's the Kentucky Derby, the most exciting 2 minutes in sports. And the Kentucky Derby has been running at Churchill Downs since 1875. It is the oldest continuously running sporting event in the United States.
Oh, wow. And also the home of the Louisville Slugger.
And it is also home of the Louisville Slugger.
Yep.
But that's way after Derby. I just think it's so cool that it's the oldest continuously running sporting event in America.
Yep.
And if you ever get a chance to go, Rob and I highly recommend it.
Maybe you'll find love there.
Louisville is also known for he fell fast and hard. It took me a little bit past the Derby to be in love. Okay, just for the record.
Okay.
Just for the record.
I know.
Louisville is also known for its large collection of Victorian-era homes. It's what's called Old Louisville, and Old Louisville, Kentucky looks like a movie set. It's tree-lined streets, towering Victorian mansions, stained glass, carved wood, wraparound porches. It's one of the largest Victorian historic preservation districts in the country, and it is the largest collection of continuous residential Victorian architecture in America.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It really is pretty. And it has this mix of old money elegance and bohemian edge. It's full of artists and students, professionals, and it has a thriving LGBTQ plus community.
Mm-hmm.
It was built as a suburb in the 1870s. It's been home to some of the city's wealthiest residents, and it's also known to be haunted.
Okay.
Many people died in these homes. There were suicides. There were murders. Lots of people just died in their beds there, right?
No reflection on Louisville, but okay, go ahead.
Well, this neighborhood, it's just this neighborhood.
Okay.
In 1897, a new home was built by Richard Robinson, a businessman and a merchant. He was the key figure in the city at the time when it came to pharmaceuticals. He was born in Virginia. He moved to Kentucky and married Eliza Pettit in 1842 in Louisville. They had a few kids, but Richard and Eliza built a 9,000 square foot, 11 bedroom, 8 bathroom Victorian home at 1435 South 4th Street in Old Louisville. It faces one of the walking courts, and it had this elaborate inlaid parquet floors. It was 3 stories high, but it had a dirt basement floor and a wine cellar.
Okay.
Now, Richard was part of the Robinson Pettit Company, which was really prominent in the 19th and 20th century. Again, they sold wholesale drugs and pharmaceuticals based in Louisville. I actually read one little factoid that said they were in court because they were in trouble during Prohibition for selling alcohol as medicinal alcohol.
Got it.
The Robinson family sold this house, but to this day, it is still referred to as the Richard Robinson House. In the late 1920s, the Robinson House was converted into a medical facility, a sanatorium. Nothing good can happen, right?
Yeah.
The Bush Bandine Sanatorium. It was a private hospital inside this mansion operated by Dr. Evelyn Bush, MD, and Dr. Stanley Bandine, DO. He's a doctor of osteopathy. Now, today, MDs and DOs both go to the same residency programs in hospitals, but back then, it wasn't necessarily that way. The MDs thought that the DOs weren't modernized, but were more rural, holistic doctors. So Dr. Bush and Dr. Bandine began practicing in this really large house, and for a time, the patients they treated were said to have recovered, and these two were kind of making a difference in people's lives. That is, until they moved into focusing on tuberculosis and cancer.
Okay.
Stanley Bandine said he had a miracle cure for cancer and tuberculosis, endocrine diseases, and lots more. He would give people glyoxylide shots known as Koch shots. Koch shots, that's so hard to say.
Say that 10 times fast.
It's named, I wanted to make sure I got that last syllable right.
Yeah, that's a little dangerous.
But it's named after a doctor in Detroit. And Dr. Bandine charged $100 or $150 to $150 per shot. That's a ton of money back then.
Yeah.
He was paid about 25 cents per dose himself. He marketed himself as a near miracle worker for terminal cancer patients, despite acknowledging that mainstream medicine did not endorse these treatments. He made exaggerated promises of cure, even in advanced cancer cases. He's a snake oil salesman.
It sounds like the last episode we did.
True. He liked to use these scare tactics. Like he would tell women, well, one woman, he told her, quote, "You would burst wide open and die right now," end quote.
Wow.
Yeah, he liked to terrify these people. It would worsen their mental state. He liked scaring his patients to see how they would react. And sometimes when people were in pain, he would refuse to give them pain meds, even if they were in severe pain.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He misrepresented his credentials, including paying for a phone listing that described him as a doctor of medicine, despite not being an MD, even after the Board of Medical Department in Kentucky warned him to stop, the Kentucky Board of Health. And they eventually charged him with grossly unprofessional or dishonest conduct in the treatment of cancer and tuberculosis, focusing on his use of dubious medicines, excessive fees, unjustified promises, and deceptive practices. He is a Dr. Hyde.
So other than that, he was a really good guy.
Yeah. So he killed a lot of people inside the sanatorium. Wow. A lot of people called him the Angel of Death, and he used the basement with the dirt floor at 1435 South 4th Street as a morgue.
Ooh.
And there are those who said he would take patients down there to experiment on them. Now, couldn't really find anything about that. I think that's more of like a little bit of a rumor, but it does sort of make the story a little juicier, right?
Well, and it kind of makes sense, too.
Yeah. But eventually this sanatorium, it closes because of all the shady medical practices. And the Richard Robinson house had a few other tenants in between their next owner, and I couldn't really find specifics about whoever lived there. But according to Domine, who wrote this book, the people who lived there either suffered financial hardships, disease, or died in horrific fatal accidents. And it would either happen elsewhere or right there on the house, on the property.
Right.
Then in the late 1960s, a nurse named Pauline Boren bought the house, turning it into an 11-room boarding house. And Pauline moved in with her daughter. She would live there for nearly 30 years. And there were people who believed that she had actually broken the curse of this house. But in 1993, one of her tenants, a drug addict, beat her with a baseball bat, and she died a couple of months later.
Was it a Louisville Slugger?
I knew you were going to ask that question.
Sorry.
I knew you were going to ask that question.
So,
she's going to come haunt you tonight for asking that question.
It was so inappropriate, but I couldn't resist.
But there's been a lot going on at the Richard Robinson house, particularly in the basement. And according to David Domine, who wrote this book, A Dark Room in Glitterball City, he found credible evidence that there was a cult meeting down there in the basement for a while.
Wow.
And there's also apparently a document from the Vatican that shows an exorcism had taken place down there.
Wow.
There was also a weird Catholic cult meeting that happened in this home. Pauline's daughter has said that her mother was very trusting and would rent a room to just about anybody, including a guy who was running an S&M club in the basement for a year.
Jeez.
Like S&M sex parties down there.
Wow.
After Pauline's death, the house sat vacant for a while. It was pretty run down at this point, and most of the homes in this area that had been pretty on the outside were kind of falling apart on the inside, and a lot of them had been purchased and remodeled, but not 1435 South 4th Street.
Gee, I wonder why.
It still had beautiful fixtures on the inside, this gorgeous grand staircase. There were stained glass windows, gorgeous fireplace mantels, all the original hardwood floors throughout the entire home. But it was a pit, and it needed a lot of work. On August 13th, 2008, a man named Jeffrey Mundt bought 1435 South 4th Street with the intention of turning it into a bed and breakfast. Now, growing up in Louisville, Jeff Mundt does have a nickname of Jase. I don't know if this is a family nickname or one he gave himself. I'm going to call him Jeff. Okay. He's very much a, quote, local boy made good, end quote, on paper. He's an Atherton kid, which is an area of Louisville. He would swim at Lakeside. He was a high-achieving IT professional. He's a Louisville native who attended Atherton High School, which is a highly regarded public high school in Louisville. Right. And as a kid, he spent his summers at Lakeside Swim Club in the Highlands. And Jeff came from a very solid upper middle class family. He went to a great school. He was considered stable and respectable. He was an excellent student. He was a governor's scholar here in Kentucky. When he graduated high school, he went to Indiana University, where he got his degree in computer science. And then he went to Northwestern for grad school, where he ended up taking a major IT role at the university. So he oversaw, after he finished his grad school work at Northwestern, he oversaw a large project to modernize the university's financial systems. Wow. It was a major university-wide IT project, and he is in charge.
He was the boss.
He liked being the boss. Yeah. His colleagues there said he was smart and polished. Quote, the guy looked good on paper, end quote. Again, everybody thinks he looks good on paper. Yeah. Suits. He was trusted with this big institutional responsibility, but Jeff was weird. He was odd. He believed he was the smartest guy in every room he was in. He liked to fake a British accent. In fact, a lot of people at Northwestern believed he was British, at least for the first 6 months that he's heading up this project. And he was even saying things like, top of the morning to you. So right off the bat, Jeff's a big fat liar. Yeah. And when someone asked him about it, he said that he felt like he got more respect from people when he spoke with a British accent. What? Now, his colleagues were a little bit afraid of him because Jeff could be cruel to people, and he just thought he was smarter than everybody else. Because he was the main guy in the department, when people submitted their reports to him, he would only accept correspondence and reports in a certain font, Garamond, and at 14 points. And if it wasn't right, he would throw it back at them and lose his mind on his coworkers.
Can you say OCD? Jeez.
He was very quick to anger, and if he was having a bad day, he would play really loud, heavy metal music in his office with the door shut. And that meant, do not disturb. Don't come in here. Now, Jeff also had cats. We're going to talk a lot about cats. He named all of his cats after Charles Dickens characters, mostly from the Pickwick Papers. And if people weren't smart enough to recognize this, they weren't good enough to be his friend or to hang out with him. Jeez. So maybe he was naming them Augustus Snodgrass or Nathaniel Winkle. I would be smart enough to hang out with you, Jeff. He always wore expensive clothes and shoes. He very much had a style, and he wanted it to scream money and status and intelligence. And according to one source, Jeff, who was already making about $250,000 a year at Northwestern, asked for more money. And when they said no, he got his panties in a wad and decided to leave. And he came home to Louisville and the University of Louisville to work in their IT department, starting his new position in May of 2009. Now, I think he also broke up with his boyfriend who was in Chicago at the time. So maybe that had something to do with him wanting to come back home. On August 13th of 2009, Jeff buys this home at 1435 South 4th Street, the Richard Robinson house that is now 112 years old and had a bit of a checkered past with Dr. Bandine and the morgue and the unsavory tenants and Pauline and the S&M parties in the basement and possibly an exorcism. And
let's put it this way. The 60s had nothing on this house.
Yeah, what could go wrong, right?
Oh, jeez.
Now, when Jeff buys the house, it is basically crumbling. It's going to take some money to bring this place up to snuff and turn it into a bed and breakfast, which was exactly what he wanted it to be. And, you know, if he was going to turn it into something people wanted to pay for, it really needed to be nice.
Sure.
And according to Domine's book, people called the neglected parts of the neighborhood fourth and crazy.
Wow.
Which I loved.
That's funny.
Now, across town at a gay bar, a man is dressed in drag and doing a show. James Daniel Carroll, he goes by Jamie, was born on August 25th, 1972 in Martin, Kentucky, Floyd County. I know exactly where this is. He's the son of Ellen Jean Johnson Carroll, and his dad's name is Walk, like W-A-L-K, Walk Edward Carroll.
I wonder where that came from.
Well, you know what? It's the South, and people have different names. I mean, my college roommate was Mary Wiss, W-I-S, and Wiss was her grandfather's name.
From the South, maybe, hi, I'm Barnpole.
Walk. His name's Walk.
Walk.
Yeah.
Okay.
He has two older brothers, Walk Edward Jr. and Tony Ray, who went by Bunky.
Jeez.
I love it.
I need a program.
The town where he grows up is super small. Like a little over 600 people live there when he graduates from Allen Central High School in 1990. And Martin, Kentucky is part of eastern Kentucky. It's rural Appalachia.
Okay.
And it's been a long time coal mining town since about the 1900s. But nowadays, the hospital there is the main employer. But unemployment rate is really high, as is the opioid epidemic.
Right.
It's gotten better, but fentanyl, heroin, and methamphetamine are the big drugs there. And when Jamie's just a young boy, he runs away from home. He starts living at the elementary school instead of at his own home. And as a young boy, he already knew that he was gay, and his father would apparently beat him because of it. According to the documentary on HBO, Jamie spent time in the hospital because his father had nearly beaten him to death.
Good Lord.
Now, after high school, he went to and graduated from the Carl Perkins Beauty School in Paintsville, Kentucky. And like Dolly Parton in Steel Magnolias, he could bang some hair.
That's funny.
He seemed to know what he wanted to do right out of high school, and that was hair. And he was apparently very good at it, according to his instructor from the Carl Perkins Beauty School.
Okay.
Jamie was funny and personable. He could talk to anybody. He's like Rob, get into the elevator with 5 people and leave with 4 new friends. Meanwhile, I'm just in the corner. I'm the one who's not talking.
Yeah, but I got that from my dad because, I grew up in a small town, and we'd be downtown in Sydney and be standing on the corner waiting for the light to change. And before it would turn green or red, whatever, he would know the guy next to him. He'd know his life story, because he had that kind of personality. He could just
honey,
talk and take it out of anyone.
You come by it honestly.
Well, thank you, Daddy.
One of Jamie's beauty school peers said, quote, "If you knew him, you were probably mesmerized by his smile and charm. His enthusiasm and compassion for his talent could be seen in his work all around. Jamie's personality was magnetic, and his clientele loved him dearly. He could come to school broke and leave school that evening with a pocket full of tip money. He knew how to make money even in school because he was natural to his profession."
Right.
End quote. Jamie was creative, he was social, and he was somebody who could make a client feel like the only person in the room. And friends described him as kind and funny and open, somebody who really wanted a connection with the community around him. So his clients loved him and his colleagues loved him. But even though he, for a time, had a successful hair salon in eastern Kentucky, it was called Illusions by James, where you could get your hair done, get a manicure, a pedicure. It even had tanning beds. It was the 90s. What can I say?
Yeah.
He could cut and style hair and do wigs, apparently, like nobody's business. So he really is Dolly Parton, right? Because Dolly wears all those wigs.
Oh, yeah.
There are stories about him wearing high heels to the grocery store in Pikeville, Kentucky, which is a little bit bigger mining town. But these are not the kind of people who think that's okay, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, how'd that go over?
He wanted to move to a bigger city. He wanted to move to Lexington, which is where we live.
Right.
And not only was Jamie good with hair, he was good with makeup, and he started doing drag. Jamie started performing under the drag name of Ronica Reed, the pageant queen. He actually won Miss Gay Pride West Virginia in 2009. So he would style hair during the day and then go to Louisville to perform in drag shows at night. And if you didn't know, the term drag comes from the Victorian era and in 19th century theater, when men would play women's roles wearing long dresses and petticoats, and the heavy skirts would drag on the stage, and the actors and stagehands started referring to women's clothing worn by men as being, quote, in drag.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Now, there are those who say drag stands for dressed resembling a girl, but I like the other explanation.
Yeah, the other makes sense.
Yeah. And Jamie is really pretty in drag, and many people thought he could pass as a woman when he was all dressed up. Now, I think drag queens can be gorgeous, but they do wear a lot of makeup, if you've ever seen like RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah.
So I don't know about passing as a woman or not, but he was only 5'7" and 128 pounds. He could have done it.
Yeah.
But he cared deeply about his hair and his makeup and his performance. And Jamie's life, like so many other people's, was complicated. He had a history with drugs, methamphetamine in particular, and had been involved in low to mid-level drug dealing, operating within Lexington and Louisville's gay nightlife. And it doesn't define him as a person, but it does explain how he ended up in our story today.
Okay.
Now, from the 1990s to the early 2000s, Jamie isn't arrested for anything, but by 2005, he'd had a few run-ins with the law, and by 2008, there is an unconfirmed arrest for first-degree trafficking in a controlled substance, first offense for methamphetamine over 2 grams. Wow. So he was a meth user and a small-time meth dealer, and he's on some gay dating sites, including one called Adam for Adam, and it's here that he meets a guy named Joey Banis. Nope. Joey Banis. Everybody pronounces his name a different way, but I heard him say his own name, Joey Banis.
You say Banis, I say Banis.
Don't say that because I'm going to mess it up for the rest of the podcast.
Okay.
It's Joey Banis. Right.
Banis. Okay.
Joseph Banis, or Joey, didn't come from the streets or the hills of eastern Kentucky like Jamie. He grew up in Louisville as the son of a well-known plastic surgeon, drifting into the city's gay nightlife. When he's younger, he's a deadhead, following the Grateful Dead around. But he gets busted while he's at a Grateful Dead concert, and he's got LSD in the car with him, and he also has a gun in the car with him.
Oops.
And he's going to do time pretty early on. By his 30s, he had a long, messy track record in Louisville. He was a familiar face on the local gay scene, working as a bartender in one bar where he stole their liquor, money, and speakers off the wall, and a part owner in his own gay bar, Glow, where he took the alcohol, money, and speakers he had stolen to open his own club.
Wow.
And Joey had been in prison, and you can't hold a liquor license in Kentucky if you are a convicted felon. But he opened on New Year's Eve in 2006, and people took photos inside the club, and the owners of the club where he bartended before, where he stole everything, were like, hey, that's our stuff.
Yeah.
So people who knew Joey have always described him as charismatic, but unstable, with a reputation for partying hard and having a, quote, complicated past, end quote. The owners of the club that he stole from, they go to the police and they say, look, we know he's dealing drugs. And the police are like, we know too, we're building a case against him, so just hang on. And they do eventually send Joey back to prison. So Joey had a prior felony record and had already served prison time for drug-related offenses and theft. And Joey struggled with a serious methamphetamine addiction. So he's the troubled, high-risk son of this respected doctor, very visible in the gay bar scene, very involved with meth and crime, and already known to law enforcement with a felony record and this serious addiction. Kind of had a reputation for chaos, right?
Right.
He's also HIV positive.
Okay.
He's a bad boy, or he has that bad boy persona. He's got colored hair. He wears a mohawk lots of times. He has tons of tattoos. He wears jewelry. And even his first boyfriend from when he's just a young guy said that when Joey did drugs, he was scary. Joey stabbed his first boyfriend with glass, and his boyfriend had him kicked out of the apartment they shared, and Joey then moved in next door. He's kind of an unstable guy, to say the least, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
In September of 2009, Joey Banis is just out of prison.
Okay.
Joey Banis is just out of prison.
Right.
He's on the gay dating or hookup site Adam for Adam. Jamie Carroll is also on the site Adam for Adam. And these two knew or had people in common on this site. And Jamie was coming into town and went by Joey's hotel room. And these two get together, they get high, and they have sex. But Joey and Jamie aren't the only ones on Adam for Adam. Straight-laced, mild-mannered, fake British accent Jeff Mundt, who's just moved into the home on 4th Street, is also on Adam for Adam. Jeff's handle is Jase for sex, or Rubber Jase.
Jeez.
And his description of himself is, quote, "Chances are I'm into it. Some limits are certainly there, but they're few and far between. Basically, those things most bad for me are the things I most enjoy, and uninhibited, wild, kinky play is what I seek, especially in rubber gear," end quote.
Wow. Man.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Now, a month after meeting up with Jamie, Joey sees Jeff's profile on Adam for Adam. He's wearing this latex suit, and these two start talking, and Jeff sends Joey his phone number, and he wants Joey to come over to his house. And when Joey gets there, Jeff greets him at the door wearing exactly what he had on in his profile picture, black latex. And Joey's later going to say that he almost didn't go inside the house. Joey didn't know if he was the same person he'd seen online or not.
Yeah.
And again, what could go wrong?
Yeah.
So Joey's the common denominator here. He's hooking up with Jamie for drugs and sex, and he's hooking up with Jeff and having sex and doing drugs. Now, later we will hear the defense say that Jeff never did drugs before he met Joey. But when he does, he starts doing drugs. Joey and Jeff hit it off pretty daggone quick, and he and Jeff were sexually compatible. Joey agreed when Jeff asked him to move in with him. I think for Jeff, Joey was exciting and well-spoken. He came from a really good family. And according to Joey, he wanted to be with someone who wasn't a party boy. He'd been down that road before, and he liked it that Jeff had a stable outside job. So it's the straight-laced guy who drives the BMW and wears the suit and has to have reports in 14-point Garmin with the bad boy who's all tatted up and has like a purple mohawk or a green mohawk, and he's pierced, and that was what he wanted.
Wow.
And maybe it was nonstop sex and drugs for the two of them. Joey has said that he could do meth and still know what was going on around him, but if Jeff did meth, he completely lost touch with reality. And these two would actually fight like cats and dogs. I mean, maybe the makeup sex was great, but they fought a lot from the beginning.
Right.
Now, most of the people who lived in Old Louisville are friendly neighbors with each other. They all know each other, especially if you read this book by Domine. You know, there's this one part where in the HBO special where this woman says, "We're front porch people. You know, we know everybody. We have cocktails together."
Sure.
But nobody seemed to know Jeff or Joey, and Jeff's house seemed empty. And Joey's going to say that it was pretty early on in their relationship that he realizes that Jeff Mundt has a dual existence. By day, he's the sharp-dressed, slick IT dude at the University of Louisville who wore his expensive clothes and drove his BMW. But when he got home, it was a completely different story because Jeff was into BDSM-style dominance, including bondage and fetish gear like his latex suit.
Right.
He liked tying Joey up. Now, these two, Joey and Jeff, would send sexually explicit texts between each other and even filmed themselves having sex where Jeff is in the dominant role. He's the one dominating and instructing Joey, not the other way around. I only tell you this because they're going to watch these videos in court.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
All right.
Now, somewhere between October and the end of November, Jeff's drug use escalates. So much so that he's coming into work and he's high. And this is going to be a problem because Jeff has a mortgage to pay and Jeff is paying for drugs and food and he's pretty much paying for everything.
Sure.
And the relationship between Jeff and Joey is intense. It's codependent. It's deeply unhealthy. There was domestic violence, control, drugs, this power dynamic that shifted depending on who you talked to and who you believed.
Yeah, it sounds like a powder keg ready to explode.
That's called foreshadowing.
Okay.
I will say Joey took Jeff home with him for Thanksgiving to meet his parents, Dr. and Mrs. Banis. And it's after this, even though the relationship is intense, codependent, and deeply unhealthy, that these two start to think about being in a long-term relationship. I mean, you're fighting all the time. I guess you should think about getting married. I don't know. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You know, that just doesn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah.
And these drugs are either saving them or dooming them because behind closed doors, this relationship is just a storm.
It sounds like a mess.
It is a mess. When December rolls around, Jeff is drowning in debt with his new house that he hasn't renovated in the slightest. And as Joey gets to know Jeff more, he says that Jeff told him some wild stories about himself. Jeff told Joey that he had worked for the NSA and was an assassin and had killed over 30 people for them.
What?
He'd been really specific with Joey about who he'd killed and even shown him newspaper articles about it. And Jeff Mundt is actually a big Eastern European history and culture buff. He speaks several Eastern European languages.
Wow.
Now, these two contact Jamie Carroll in either late November, right after Thanksgiving, or in the earliest few days of December 2010. I've also heard more specific dates, but the three of them get together on more than one occasion to smoke meth and to have sex.
Okay.
So when Jamie's in town and Joey and Jeff want to get together for a threesome and they want Jamie to come, they always want him to bring the meth. Now, it's important to know that Jamie is supposed to report to prison on December 15th, 2009. He's got this felony for drugs and he knows he's got to go in, right? Mm-hmm. He's got to report. Right. And his plan is to get clean while he's in prison and come out on the other side a new man with a new plan. But he's going to go out with a bang. That was a bad term to use. Sorry. I was going to say he wants to go out on a high note, but that's probably just as bad. So I'm just going to put all of that back where I found it.
He wants to be a better person.
No, he wants to have one last night of debauchery before he goes in.
Before he goes to prison.
Right.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. I'm with you.
That's what I was saying. He wants to go out with a bang, but that's really bad. I shouldn't say that. Or on a high note. Shouldn't say that one either. Anyway, so just debauchery, right?
Right.
And Jamie Carroll shows up at the 4th Street house. He's got the meth. He's got a wad of cash on him because he's been selling meth. And what unfolded that night is something that both Joey and Jeff can agree upon. All three men used drugs, and all three men engaged in a meth-fueled threesome. And according to Jeff, both he and Joey had had sex before with Jamie, and they'd even had a threesome before this. I even said that, but he's saying we were all together, we'd been together before.
Right.
And at some point in the night, the drugs ran out and Jamie left to buy more. But that's where the cohesive story ends. Now, this is Joey's story. The three men had been using meth and having sex. At some point, he claims, Joey was watching porn while Jeff and Jamie were having sex. And later, Joey is going to say that he was tied up. But this is when Joey heard a blood-curdling scream. When he turns around, he says he saw Jeff attacking Jamie. According to Joey, Jeff was armed with a knife and he was stabbing at Jamie's throat and neck 6 times. Blood was flying everywhere. And then out of nowhere, Jeff pulls out a Smith & Wesson revolver and fires it twice, shooting Jamie once in the head, and the other bullet went into the wall. Now, after the murder, Joey says he was up against the wall hyperventilating. Quote, "I thought he," meaning Jeff, "was going to kill me," end quote.
Wow.
Now, why would Jeff do this? Well, according to Joey, Jeff wanted to steal Jamie's drug stash and the money he had on him. And Jeff was jealous of the relationship that Joey had with Jamie. I know there's so many J's. There's so many J's. Joey says that after Jeff killed Jamie, Jeff wrapped him up in his bed linens and they dragged him downstairs to the dirt floor basement.
Wow.
He said that I would get my ass down to the basement or else I would, quote, be going into that hole with him, end quote.
Man.
Now this is Jeff's story. The 3 men had been using meth and having sex. Then an argument or a struggle broke out between Joey and Jamie. And according to Jeff, he was having sex with Jamie. And Joey came over and Jeff assumes he's going to do something sexual with one or the other of them. And this is when Jeff feels a jerk. He's unexpectedly thrown off of Jamie and Jamie started screaming, quote, "No, no, Joey, no, 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 please." And Joey attacked Jamie, slitting his throat while Jamie screamed Joey's name over and over again. Then Joey shot Jamie with Jeff's Smith & Wesson revolver. Quote, "There was blood literally everywhere and you could actually smell the blood," end quote.
Wow.
That's Jeff saying this.
Right.
After Jamie is dead, neither of them call the police, regardless of who actually killed him or if they did it together. Nobody calls the police.
Okay.
Jeff will say that Joey gave him Rohypnol, the date rape drug, to calm him down.
Roofies.
Mm-hmm. After this, the 2 of them together buy a 50-gallon Rubbermaid bin, lye, and foam sealant. This was purchased by Jeff. Quote, "Joey told me that if I refused to help him, he would kill me," end quote. And according to Joey, after this, Jeff forced him to help get Jamie's body to the basement, where they used a sledgehammer to break his bones so they could stuff him into this large Rubbermaid container with a lid.
Ugh.
And according to Joey, Jeff made him dig the grave in the dirt floor basement of the house. And Joey said that if he didn't help, there was room in the grave for him too. If he didn't help, he would shoot him. And if he ever told anybody, he would kill him and his family.
Wow.
Now, according to Jeff, after Joey murdered Jamie Carroll, Joey forced him to help bring the body to the basement, where they broke Jamie's bones in order to fold him up and shove him into the Rubbermaid bin. And Jeff says that Joey told him if he didn't help, he would kill him. And if he ever told anyone, he would kill Jeff, his family, and the cats. And if he couldn't do it, he would have someone else do it. And Jeff says that because Joey had been in prison, he knew of plenty of people who would carry it out and kill him and his family and his cats. So they're basically telling the exact same story about each other, right?
Right.
And regardless of who you believe, they sledgehammered his kneecaps and, quote, folded him into a position where he could fit into the container, end quote.
Jeez.
Jamie's body is tied up with rope, stuffed into this bin, covered in lye, and after the lid is put on, they used that expanding polyurethane foam to fill in the gaps around the Rubbermaid bin. Then they buried him in the ground in the basement. Jamie Carroll was 37 years old. Now, because he was supposed to report to prison, right?
Right.
He never shows up. His family assumes that's where he is. And when he failed to report to begin serving his sentence, the system logged him as a fugitive from his sentence and not a missing person. So no missing persons report is ever filed. Nobody's looking for him. In fact, according to both Joey and Jeff, they actually discussed the fact that no one would miss Jamie if he were gone. Now, this all happened in early December. And after this, there are photos of the two of them, Jeff and Joey, in front of their Christmas tree with their arms around each other's waists. So how threatened did each of them actually feel, right?
Yeah.
Jamie Carroll did have some cash on him and meth, and it was probably enough for the two of them to get by for a bit, but they still needed money.
Sure.
And the two of them are still together, and Jamie's body is buried in Jeff Mundt's basement, and these two are moving on with their lives as if nothing has happened.
Yeah.
By the end of January 2010, Jeff has lost his job because he's coming into work high, right?
Yeah.
Then on March 13th, Joey Banis records a motel room confession video on his Apple computer. It's his suicide note. Spoiler alert, he does not kill himself. But in it, he takes the blame for the death of Jamie. In the video, Joey is supposed to be holding Jeff hostage, confessing on tape with a gun in his hand. He reads from a piece of paper, quote, "I am recording my death for the purpose of informing all concerned of my own willful suicide and the complete non-involvement or culpability of anyone else, specifically of my boyfriend, lover, life partner, and friend, my one, Jeffrey Stephen Mundt. You will notice that he is sitting or lying on the bed near me. It is only because I have a gun pointed at him." And he pans over to Jeff, who's lying on this bed in this hotel room. But he's not really paying attention. And then Joey continues, "I am holding him hostage because I have failed him and hurt him and done terrible things which I can never recover from. This includes killing someone who," and then he pauses. And then he says, "This includes killing someone," end quote. But there's more to this video than only this statement, because before he reads the confession, Joey videos Jeff as he's writing or typing what everybody believes is Joey's script, exactly what Joey's going to say. And after the confession, Joey's on the same video saying, quote, "Was that what you wanted?" end quote. So who's the puppet and who's the puppeteer? It's hard to say.
Yeah.
What we do know is that this relationship was volatile, right?
Right.
These two need to make money, so they begin counterfeiting. I'm not certain exactly how they did it, and there are some murky details online, mostly about how authorities don't want other people to know how they did it.
Sure.
But I did see in one source that they acid-washed real $1 bills, like bleaching them in chemicals, and then re-stamping them as 50s or $100 bills.
Okay.
On April 10th of 2010, these two, Joey and Jeff, travel from Louisville to Chicago, and they check into the Hyatt Regency on East Wacker Drive. I have stayed at this hotel. Now, many people think they did this to see how many fake bills they could pass off to other people. And they have with them about $55,000 in counterfeit bills.
Man.
They also have with them guns, drugs, go figure, handcuffs, that's got to be for later, and fake IDs. And I also read that they maybe had bomb-making materials with them, too.
Wow.
Now, apparently, they were going to rob a bank. They were going to do this bank heist while they were in Chicago because Joey had connections from his prison days with Chicago organized crime. And during their very short stay, while high on drugs, Jeff approaches the Hyatt doorman and asks him to change a $100 bill. And he's so out of it and so high, he hands him one of the test dollars that he's been working on, right? So man. It doesn't really look like a $100 bill. It's been printed over and over again. And apparently it's wet. And this doorman looks at the bill and realizes that something's off. It's actually kind of wet, and he alerts the hotel security, and then he alerts Chicago PD. And the police arrive just as Jeff and Joey are leaving the hotel, and they're detained, and the bill is checked which confirmed that it was counterfeit. And that one bill gave police probable cause to search their hotel room and their car. And they find $55,000 in counterfeit cash in hundreds and fifties. I always thought it was 20s that counterfeiters wanted to do because it was less conspicuous.
No, go big or go home.
But the police find a handgun. It's actually the gun that was used to kill Jamie Carroll. They find their fake IDs, their fraudulent documents, including a DC driver's license with Jeff's photo, but somebody else's name. They found the handcuffs, and they also found the date rape drug GHB, along with meth pipes and other drug paraphernalia.
Man.
Now, this counterfeit operation is big enough that the U.S. Secret Service gets involved because counterfeit currency is under their jurisdiction.
Sure.
And the feds seized their laptops and hard drives and found, quote, nearly 1 million files, end quote. But remember, Jeff is this IT wizard, right?
Sure.
Jeff Mundt was charged with misdemeanor theft for passing the $100 bill and felony possession of a fraudulent state ID.
All right.
Joey tells the police that Jeff had nothing to do with it. He knows that because of his felony rap sheet, his bail is going to be higher, and he needs Jeff's to be small so he can bail him out. I mean, Jeff needs to bond out, and then he needs to come back and get Joey out.
These guys are playing the ultimate chess game.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So they get Joey for drugs and weapons charges because of his record, and Joey's bail was set at $200,000. Jeff's bail was set at $50,000. And Jeff bonds out, and then he bails Joey out, and Joey now says if he was so afraid of me. Remember, they're so afraid of each other, right?
Yeah, right.
If he was so afraid of me, why didn't he leave me in jail?
Right.
Yeah, because Jeff paid $20,000 to get Joey out. He could have just let him rot in jail.
Yeah.
Again, this is April of 2010, and Jamie Carroll has been buried in Jeff's basement for 5 months. Jeff and Joey go back to Louisville, and their turbulent relationship takes on another level. They fight, they do drugs, they have sex. Again, it's not going to end well. In late May or early June, Jeff contacts a concrete guy named Kenny Robertson. He wanted an estimate for how much it would cost to pour concrete in the basement of his 4th Street house. And in an interview with this guy, it shows that he thought that basement reeked, and he got a bad feeling when he was down there, and he wanted out. On June 17th, 2010, Louisville 911 receives a call. It's Jeff Mundt. He tells the emergency dispatcher that his, quote, ex-boyfriend is attacking me in my house, end quote. Joey is trying to break into his house, and he's, quote, scared, and he's not safe. He's in the house, and he's trying to break down the door to the bedroom, end quote. Jeff is now 38 years old. So is Joey. And Jeff tells this dispatcher he's sobbing and crying, and it sounds like someone is like beating on a wall or a door. And he's telling the dispatcher that Joey's crazy and that he's trying to beat down the door with a hammer. Quote, the door is locked, but I can hear the wood breaking on the door, end quote.
Here's Johnny.
He tells the dispatcher that Joey is crazy, just like here's Johnny. According to Joey on this night, June 17th, 2010, he was asleep in another room. And this is when Louisville PD shows up. They make a forced entry into the house. This is what Jeff tells them to do. You've got to force your way into the house and get him. I'm not coming out of my room until you get him. Okay? That's what he tells the police.
All right.
So the police makes a forced entry into the house. Joey makes a run for it. They tackle him. They put him in the back of the cruiser, and they were going to hold him for a domestic violence investigation. And all this happens while Jeff is still inside his bedroom. He never comes out until the 911 operator says they've arrested Joey, okay?
Okay.
But on the way to the station, while Joey's in the back seat, in handcuffs, he says to Sergeant Trey McKnight, who's driving the car, I know about a homicide that you have no record of. I witnessed a murder that's never been brought up. He tells Sergeant McKnight the dead body is buried in the basement of Jeff Mundt's house.
Wow.
And for now, that's all I have to say about that.
All right, well, my take on this is, what a mess. Good Lord. Jeez.
Have you ever heard, oh, it's going to get wilder. It's going to get even crazier. Just wait.
And it's just sad when you just see someone just spiral out of control.
And this is 3 people spiraling.
Yeah.
It really is. There's so many people spiraling in this. It's just a bad mix of drugs and personalities, and yeah. It's a really bad mix.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah, don't.
All right, well, I can't wait to hear the ending of this one. But in the meantime, let's do a little Bless Your Heart.
Well, bless your heart.
Okay, number 1.
Number 1.
Karma sucks.
Yes, it does.
While they were questioned in the shoplifting case, police say someone broke into their vehicle and stole a stereo and several other items. It happened about 5 p.m. Thursday at the Winco Foods at the corner of Wall and 12th Street in Ogden,
Utah.
Yep.
Okay.
Store security.
Ogden, Utah.
Yeah.
Right.
Store security had the individuals in custody in their office, Ogden Police Lieutenant Eric Young said. They had reviewed surveillance videos and recovered stolen property from the suspects.
Oh.
Yeah. Police say Eldon Alexander, 36, and 47-year-old Corinne Van Houten tried to walk out of the store with several small-ticket items like makeup, energy bars, and batteries.
Yeah, well, you need makeup and energy bars. So.
Yeah. They were cited for shoplifting and let go. But as the officer started to leave, he sees the 2 suspects trying to flag him down in the parking lot. Young said, and he goes over to their location and realizes that their vehicle had actually been burglarized.
Oops.
They ended up having their stereo and amplifier, a drum machine, and some cigarettes stolen from their vehicle.
Not worth the makeup and the granola bars.
I know. Karma is a you-know-what. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Well, that's number 2. No problem. Just give me a call. In March of 2008, 18-year-old Ruben Zerat attempted to rob a Chicago muffler shop.
What are you going to rob? Well, I guess the money.
Yeah.
So he's not taking mufflers out.
Yeah, he entered Velasquez Mufflers for around 8 p.m., disguised in a mask and armed with a weapon. When he demanded money, however, one of the store's mechanics told him that all the money was locked in a safe only the manager could open. So what did Zerat do? He did what any hardened criminal would do. He left 2 phone numbers for them to call him back when the owner returned.
What?
And they did call him back when the police got there.
Oh, bless his heart.
Oh, my God.
Bless his heart.
All right, number 3, and finally.
Finally.
Are you there? Are you there? Are you there? Are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? Albuquerque. A New Mexico woman was finally arrested this morning by officers of the Albuquerque Police Department in what could be the most extreme case of stalking ever recorded in the history of the country.
Okay.
The 28-year-old woman allegedly not only called her ex-lover a formidable 77,639 times in a week,
Oh, jeez.
but also sent him 1,937 emails, 41,229 text messages, 217 sung messages, and 647 letters in the same period.
What does she has to do this all day?
I don't know. Oh, my God. That's just
Get a job.
unbelievable. I was reading them and went, this cannot be true.
So anybody out there who thinks that they're being stalked or they're getting too many text messages from an ex,
Oh, my God.
just refer to this story.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow.
Anyway, there's your Bless Your Hearts.
Well, if you have a bless your heart, or you know somebody's heart who needs blessing, or somebody who needs to quit sending emails and texts and phone calls.
Yeah, don't text them a million times.
All you have to do is go to hitchtahomicide.com. When you get there, there's a pull-down menu, and while you're there, you can also suggest a case or tell us about your brush with true crime.
Yep.
That's my amazing husband out there.
Beautiful bride in the booth.
Join us next time on Hitch to Homicide.
Bye, y'all.